Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. We've got some Friday business to attend to, but we can't jump into it until the stream is alive and well, and it looks like it is. Are we on Rumble? I think we are. So let's go ahead and get started, my friends. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Govea. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about the Trump mugshot backfire, and it's not really looking good for him out there. This was supposed to be their big day. They were popping champagne bottles, they were doing backflips and cartwheels and, all sorts of other things that they do that I really don't know, but you can imagine it. So they were thrilled about it because the mugshot dropped. This was the big one. They've got 3 prior indictments, no mugshots. And then suddenly, this was going to be the one. America was going to see what a monster Donald Trump was. And lo and behold, the mugshot dropped, and everybody really kind of enjoyed it. We've got a lot of people here, as we were covering it yesterday, said, man, Trump's looking pretty good. He's looking fortified. He's looking strong. He's looking like he's got a face of resolve. And so we're going to go through that and some of the reaction because there was a ton of publications, newspapers, magazines. Everybody was posting the mugshot everywhere. And there were a lot of people who took it and turned it into memes and memeified it. And so we'll go through all of that and see what the media said because they were really grasping at straws yesterday. They were saying, his weight and his this and his this. And really meaning that they didn't have much else to talk about, trying to rebut some of the enthusiasm. And CNN is like, they actually flipped out about it. They're like, these people are making a mockery of the mugshot and the justice system and blah, blah, blah. Because we're all supposed to believe that there's still legitimacy behind this whole thing. Of course, none of us do, and they're unhappy about that. So we'll go through that. And we covered the entire arrest, the release, and everything in detail yesterday. But as soon as we got off, man, Trump posted on X, and this was a big surprise, caught me by surprise, probably caught you by surprise. And then he hopped on the phone and had a conversation with Greg Kelly over on Newsmax. And so I wanted to go through some of this a little bit to sort of close the loop because the question is, what's going to be happening in Georgia? Is anybody going to do anything over there? We are going to check in with this Georgia State Senator, Colton Moore. Got a clip from Jonathan Turley. He's confirming it was a perfect phone call to Raffensperger. And this whole thing is much ado about nothing. We've also got a bit from Natalie Winters, who says that Big Fani's campaign manager apparently is a big Democrat. Oh, and doesn't like Donald Trump. So isn't that fun? All there in our segments. We also were going to jump into this little thing that's happening, and I noticed this today, a little concerning. But we've got Vivek versus DeSantis. And after the Trump arrest, we've got 2 candidates who are vying for something. And they have taken 2 different positions on this. And one of them, I think, we'll go through them and you can be the judge. But Vivek is talking about pardons and about the corruption of the justice system and the illegitimacy of this entire thing. And Ron DeSantis has a little bit of a different take. And so I want to play a couple clips, including this clip, where he kind of hints that part of the strategy, I think, is a conviction. Like it's officially part of the strategy in this clip. So we'll go through that. He's trying to explain away the late hand raise from the debates. And so we'll go through that. We've also got reaction from McCarthy, Ted Cruz, and Byron Donalds, all opining about what happened after the arrest. And then to wrap things up today, we will go through this new report from the Oversight Committee. They dropped this one, and it is telling us that they've chronicled 16 different times that Joe Biden has lied to all of us. And so we're going to go through all 16 of them just for future sake, so that anytime some lefty says, what did Joe Biden even do that was wrong? Well, he lied to you 16 times. Do you like being lied to? And I think they do. I mean, they're huge Fauci fans and so on. So, all right, so we'll go through all of that. We've got the reaction from James Comer, Senator Kennedy. Nancy Mace says, it's $50 million plus that the Bidens have absconded. And she says that maybe it's time for an old mugshot for Joe. So we have a lot to get to, my friends. It is a beautiful Friday. I hope your week is rocking and rolling, coming to a nice close, actually, since it was rocking and rolling, but it's Friday now. So hopefully you're coming to a nice evening relaxation and transition into a beautiful, relaxing couple days. But this morning, we had a great conversation with our members. Elon Musk is being sued, SpaceX in more particular. And they're saying, we read through this morning for our members only morning streams, and they're basically saying that Elon needs to back pay if a refugee or an asylee, somebody who's seeking asylum or somebody who is, a refugee, if they applied for SpaceX and they got rejected, Elon owes them back pay, okay, even though they never got hired, plus damages, plus maybe even a job, plus interest, okay? Insane. And so that is going to come out as a segment later. And but if you remember, you would have joined us this morning as we went through it and talked about it. We talked about a lot of other things. We have a lot of fun in our member-only morning streams, and you can join us as a member on Locals or on YouTube. No matter where you join, we very much appreciate it. We try to deliver for our members, and we have Saturday streams. And so if you're a member, we'll see you tomorrow morning for our members-only Saturday morning stream as well. Also, we've got a new website, robertgovea.com. You can check it out. We have daily newsletter that you can sign up for, so you get all of the reports delivered right to your inbox in case you miss anything. You can see all of this here under the reports section. You can read the articles and see exactly what's happening. If you don't have time to watch the full video, get a summary of exactly what's happening. robertgovea.com, our new website. And I'd love it if you signed up for our newsletter. That way we can stay in touch. All right. Now, before we get into it, we got to make sure we're healthy and well. It's the weekend. I know it's probably going to be barbecue time, pizza time. Yeah, probably pizza for me. So got to make sure that we're healthy and fortified and well. And one way we can do that, Field of Greens, baby. Yeah, that's right. We all would like to lose some of those leftover pandemic pounds, wouldn't we? But how sick are you of all the fad diets for the weight loss pills and all that stuff, right? We've all seen it. We've all been there. We've all done that, and they just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Pretty simple. You do that and the weight would probably fall right off. But vegetables, I know, not a fan. And fruit, who's got time to prepare that every day? I don't. Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look and feel healthier fast, but the greater proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor takes one look at you and says, woo, woo, you are looking so fabulous and good. Medically speaking, you're looking great. Whatever you're doing, keep the weight off. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Field of Greens, we know, is going to be the answer. And the way you get that is going over to fieldofgreens.com, entering in promo code Robert, goodness, and you can save 15% off when you check out. Code Robert will help you save that 15% off at checkout over at fieldofgreens.com. All right, and so let's get to it. We've got some serious Friday business. Okay, the show can get started now. Catherine Rex just showed up. Says, everyone calm down. I have arrived. All right, show's on now. All right, perfect. Whew, good timing. We were about to get started, and I was a little nervous, but you made it, Catherine. Good, glad you're here. Here we've got this one. Donald Trump emerges on X, shocking the world. We were all standing by, waiting for a message, and lo and behold, Trump dropped it. 6:38, August 24th, 2023. And this tweet is the tweet heard round the world. The X heard round the world. Mugshot posted by Donald Trump, August 24th, 2023, referencing us over to donaldjtrump.com. He says, election interference, never surrender, donaldjtrump.com. And we're just here at almost 200 million views. That's going to continue to go up and up and up. And Elon is weighing in here. He says approximately 10 million views per hour of this image. 10 million views per hour of this image. That's a lot. That is a lot of views. And so what was supposed to be this catastrophe for Trump and MAGA and everybody demoralized and petrified, shocked, conscious, is just deflated. None of that's happening. Everybody's kind of pretty excited about this thing. So Trump links us over to donaldjtrump.com. Mugshot.com. And if you go over here, there's a very beautiful message from Trump, and let's take a look at it. He says, a personal note from President Donald John Trump. Today, at the notoriously violent jail in Fulton County, Georgia, I was arrested despite having committed no crime. The American people know what's going on. What is taking place is a travesty of justice and election interference. The left wants to intimidate you out of voting for a political outsider who puts the American people first. But today, I walked into the lion's den with one simple message on behalf of our entire movement. I will never surrender our mission to save America. Trump notes. Now, if you are doing poorly due to the sinister people in control of our country right now, don't you even think about donating. Put that money to your food and to your livelihood, because we know Joe Biden is inflating all of our currency into oblivion. Costs are going up, earnings aren't keeping pace, and Biden just keeps spending and spending and spending. But if you can, Trump says, please make a contribution to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House and save America during this dark chapter in our nation's history. Thank you. And God bless you, Donald John Trump. And so, of course, you can go over there and make a contribution if you'd like to do that. And that way you can support these efforts. And a lot of people on the left say, you know, those donos are going to be used for his legal fees. And we say, yeah, we know that. That's exactly the point. Trump is the guy, and he'll spend the funds and resources to win no matter what needs to be done. And so after Trump posted that, en route back to New Jersey, he called in and explained a little bit about the day to Greg Kelly over on Newsmax. And I have a couple clips from that here.
Everything, it's just like one thing after the next. And what they want to do is they want to try and wear you out, which they never do. But they want to wear you out. It's just an absolute horrible thing that they're doing. And I've never seen anything like it. This is third world country. And I really believe they're getting hit by it. You know, there were tremendous crowds in Atlanta, and they were so friendly. So friendly. But this is a radical left district attorney, as we have in New York and as we have in all the other places, whether it's district attorney or AGs. We have that in New York. They're going after all for nothing. I mean, the AG case, they have no case against me at all. They do it to try and get elected, but they also do it in coordination with the Department of Injustice in Washington.
Targeted one after another, all being launched during his campaign, indicting him in multiple locations with favorable jurors, favorable courts, and Trump is carrying on. Here is Trump explaining what happened when he was there in Georgia, being arrested by Big Fani.
Terrible experience. I came in, I was treated very nicely, but it is what it is. I took a mugshot, which I never heard the words mugshot. Didn't teach me that at the Wharton School of Finance. And I have to go through a process. It's election interference. You know that better than anybody. You cover it so well. You just a fantastic job, I have to tell you, for the listener. Fantastic job, Greg. But it's a very sad experience, and it's a very sad day for our country. This is a weaponized Justice Department, and all of these indictments and cases. I have a couple of cases. They're not indictments. They're just cases where you have these left lawyers suing on like a woman that I never saw before, other than that she took a picture 25 years ago on a line, on a contributors line or something, or charity line. Everything, it's just like one thing after the next. And what they want to do is they want to try and wear you out, which they never do. But they want to wear you out. It's just an absolute horrible thing that they're doing.
And they are just, honestly, probably getting started. I think that what they're going to do is use a lot of this, and any conviction at all, if there is a conviction at all, if they're able to squeeze one trial through and get one single conviction, the legal process is just going to get started. They're going to then file to remove him or have different secretaries of state, different board of electors, or whatever the state uses to remove him from the ballots. And then a lot of the litigation will carry on from there. And we'll see big swaths of the Republican Party support the left in that effort. Just wait. So we've got that. Trump explains what's happening here. And there are questions about the integrity of this entire investigation brought by Big Fani, the biggest Fani in Georgia. And this was an interesting post over from Natalie Winters. Natalie Winters is a co-executive editor of the Steve Bannon War Room, and she put this together. I thought this was great. Says Fani Willis campaign director locks his X account after she exposed his anti-Trump posts and his affiliation with the Biden campaign. So Fani's campaign director, Fani, as we talked about yesterday, she just launched a new campaign website right before the indictment of Donald Trump because she needs that money, that big lefty money to come in. And it's one hand is just talking to the other. So here, couple posts. This guy's name is Jeremy Halbert-Harris. Flipped Georgia for Joe Biden. They flipped Georgia. They sure did, didn't they, with that water main problem. We've got a Georgia Democrat, forever Fani for DA, House Majority PAC, Democrat AGs, strategist running campaigns. Boom. What does he do? Protects those tweets, baby, because he knows there's some scrutiny. Natalie Winters also posted this. Says Fani's campaign director became Joe Biden's coordinated campaign director for Georgia. Nothing to see here. Saying this guy's been trying to take Trump out since 2017. Posted this in 2017. He's our worst nightmare. We don't want to impeach Trump unless him and Pence go, which won't happen. It's going to be a long 3.5 years. Right? These are the people who are working on the campaigns, working on the prosecutions. They're working hand in hand. They're one and the same. It's not independent prosecution or independent political campaigning. They're on the same side using the same tools. And they're doing it for perfectly protected political speech, stuff that in this country has never been criminalized before until now, because they're petrified of Trump winning again. Here's Turley over on Fox explaining it was a perfect phone call, and Big Fani is really blowing this thing out.
He insists that he does believe that Georgia could have been flipped with a recount. And the way that she portrayed that phone call to Raffensperger, I think, is really evidence of the bias and unfairness of aspects of this indictment. You know, it makes perfect sense when you're challenging an election to say, you know, I only need around 11,000 votes.
Yeah.
So if you do a statewide review, that's not a lot in a state like Georgia. That's not criminal. That's making a case for a recount.
You have to talk about votes if you're contesting an election. It's part of the conversation. Or you're talking in code. Well, how much did I lose by? Well, I can't really, what do you mean lose by? Well, I'm talking about the election. Don't talk about it. Otherwise, you're committing a felony, according to Big Fani. So the question is, what are the Republicans going to do in Georgia? Are there any Republicans who care about this issue at all? Well, there's one guy. His name is Colton Moore, and he is a senator from Georgia. And let's see if this video will load. Otherwise, there it is. And so Georgia, he had a couple things to say about his efforts and what he's going to be working on. And so let's listen to a little bit of Colton Moore.
States. We have a constitutional crisis on our hands. Watching the mayor make that plea to those cameras should warm the hearts of every Georgian and every American that people like him still exist that are willing to fight back against this corrupt communist district attorney. I mean, my goodness, this woman is using my constituents' hard-earned tax dollars. She's using that money to take on political prisoners and to scare other legislators. I mean, one of my fellow senators is in that 18 list of indictment. Another is a co-conspirator. And all these gentlemen did was question the election and its integrity.
And that's the same thing that Big Fani did. We saw her Facebook post where she said that she didn't trust this and what ballots are they throwing out after the water main and all sorts of other things. So now Fani is going after, also indicting the people who are her potential critics. People in the Senate, he says, but somebody else got indicted. So these are people that might also bring an inquiry into Big Fani. And so she just says, how dare you do that? If you question me, you might be under indictment.
They've got every First Amendment right to do that. Let's not forget, in Georgia, it took 19 days to count the votes. Anybody with any reasonable thought might question that.
All right, and there was another exchange here. They're saying, what's he going to do? And he says, I'm going to be looking.
Things that I want to investigate once we have this emergency special session
jurisdiction
is, did the district attorney even have jurisdiction for the crimes that she is claiming at the Georgia Capitol? Because some would suggest that she doesn't, that there was a wall that was put up there legally to prevent this from ever happening, where a Fulton County person would have influence over Georgia politics. You know, that the Attorney General has jurisdiction here at the Georgia State Capitol, and the Capitol Police have jurisdiction. So there's a question of that needs to be looked into in a special session.
Interesting. So she's a Fulton County DA, so she's a county level individual. And I don't practice law in Georgia, never have. But in Arizona, we've got county level prosecutors for all the various counties, like Maricopa County is the big one you hear about. We've got Coconino County, Pima County, and the others. They've got their own DAs. They've got their own Big Fanis. So we've got a Big Fani in Maricopa, and all of the other counties have their own Big Fanis. But Arizona also has city prosecutors, right? We've got the city of Phoenix, and the city of Phoenix, which is in Maricopa County, has their prosecutor, and Scottsdale's got theirs, and so on. But we also have a state level attorney general, and the attorney general governs the state of Arizona, the Arizona attorney general. We don't have county attorney generals. And so there are different people that have different roles for different things. And Big Fani, he's saying the argument is, no, wait a minute. She's the county jurisdiction person. She's just the one Fani for the one county. This is a Georgia issue that took place at the Georgia Capitol, which is where a lot of this stuff was happening. And that's outside of her jurisdiction. That doesn't belong to Big Fani out of Fulton. That belongs to Big Fani, whoever that happens to be, a bigger Fani, but I don't know that there is one. I still haven't been proven yet. To Attorney General, the Attorney General of the state, if it's really that jurisdiction. So if it's the AG that really should be governing this thing, Big Fani may have taken the thunder out of a bigger Fani. And that's what he needs to get into. And so hopefully he continues to investigate. Shout out to Colton Moore, Senator Colton Moore from Georgia, one of the only Republicans I've heard out of there who's actually doing something now. And of course, we're going to continue to cover. Donald Trump says never surrender. Election interference is well underway. We will carry on. DonaldJTrump.com. All right, now, let's see what happens here. The Trump mugshot is released. The Trump mugshot has been released and the media goes wild, but not the way you'd think exactly. They were supposed to be excited, popping bottles of champagne, doing cartwheels and backflips. This was their big day. This was the fourth indictment. They hadn't gotten a mugshot up until this point. They got one now, and they were supposed to be hearing screams of MAGA Republicans evaporating into thin air saying, oh, yeah, you're right. Now we get it. Now Trump's a criminal that nobody believes in. Now everything you're doing against him is perfectly legitimate. But that didn't happen to them. Instead, of course, the MAGA extremist insurrectionists all took this well under their wing and incorporated it and birthed out something even greater. We're going to go through several of those memes here shortly. But this was what the national media looked like. Lots of posts about this all over the place. Houston Chronicle, they did not, on their front page, include the mugshot. That's pretty interesting. Trump surrenders at Georgia jail. We had this one. New York Post. Not even a headline on that one. Not even a title. Just Trump. Everything that you need to read is right there on that man's face. We had another one. The Washington Post. Front page of theirs. They had the mugshot. Trump surrenders at Georgia jail in election case. They've got some other posts about Russia. Here's one from USA Today. No mugshot on that one, but they do have actually kind of a favorable image of Trump, kind of a glowing image. He looks kind of like a portrait there. Eyes on Trump and co-defendants. That's from USA Today. We've got this one. Arizona, shout out, Booked in Georgia. Booked in Georgia. And there's different words that people are using. You notice this. Surrender versus booked versus arrested. These things are all different words. Surrender has a certain connotation to it, right? That's why the Washington Post says that. Trump surrenders at the Georgia jail versus booked versus arrested. Trump surrenders for Georgia booking. Small mugshot here. That's out of the Chicago Tribune. We see that is the actual mugshot. Wall Street Journal's got one. Trump's booked stands for the mugshot. And here, Daily News. You see some people really editorialize this thing. Enemy of democracy. And so they're very hysterical about it. And this was really what they wanted, but it didn't turn out that way. And we're going to see this with Rachel Maddow. She's kind of grasping for stuff to make fun of because this didn't go out so well. Now, Biden was gloating about this. This was pretty incredible. As he's prosecuting his political opponents, literally, he says, apropos of nothing, he says, I think today's a great day to give to my campaign. And look when he posted this. 4:30, August 24th, 2023. That's 4:30 my time, which is 7:30 Eastern time. That's about the same exact time, if not the exact time that Trump was being arraigned. That's the time that Trump posted that he was being arraigned. So as he is enabling all of this, providing cover by his DOJ, and there's questions about whether Big Fani was literally colluding with Jack Smith, who is with the DOJ, not an independent counsel, works for them. He says, apropos of nothing, I think today's a great day to give to my campaign. Let's finish the job, Joe. Donate to re-elect Joe and Kamala. That's what these people are doing. So they're prosecuting their opponents and they're gloating about it for all of us to see. They have no shame. This is just raw exercise of power. So we're not even playing the game of justice anymore. Not even playing with, we're going to let a fair and impartial jury and independent prosecutor come to their own conclusions in a court of law and speak through our filings. No. It's just full out legal civil war happening with prosecutors, happening with Elon getting sued by the government's HR department, with J6ers, with civil lawsuits against Trump. They're going after alternate electors, decapitating the entire head of the GOP in Michigan. Now GOP in Georgia. Arizona's probably coming up next. And Joe says, just give to my campaign. Because they don't care about that. They want to win at all costs. And a bunch of psychopath Democrats probably donated. So that's what they're doing. Now, MSNBC, I think they recognize that the energy after this mugshot dropped. We were sitting here, and I was a little taken aback when we first saw. I said, this is a powerful image. Almost a little speechless, And I don't know what I was expecting. But when it dropped, what I felt was an energy shift, a momentum shifter. And we were talking about this morning on our locals, about the status change. As soon as that image dropped, the conversation shifted. It's as though Trump went from the status of a hero elevated into legend. Hero to legend status. And that will not be taken away. And they've done that. They've dropped this iconic image, and we're all now receiving this. And they're recognizing that. A rallying cry, a call to action. This is something that is going to live on in infamy long beyond Big Fani. And I think MSNBC kind of got it. You can feel it in their body language. They're laughing about Trump's weight. They're saying, oh, he kind of fibbed on his weight or something, which is irrelevant to this entire thing. Okay, these are a bunch of children who are laughing as though this is somebody who you tripped over a pebble and fell on their face, which is still not even funny. It's not even a funny example. I don't even know why I said that. But that's what they would laugh at, right? Because they're kind of monstrous people who like to see people fall. So when a person is charged with a serious crime, and it's a serious thing, we don't have to do this type of nonsense, do we? we don't have to really indulge in it. Everybody knows it's bad. We don't have to make fun of people for their weights or sort of indulge in this almost like it's self-gratification to them, because everybody gets it. We don't have to sell it. We all know. But they've got to sell it, and they've got to do what's called cope. You'll hear it right now.
It's like, what, do they actually measure him? Do they put him on a scale? It's not like going to the veterinarian. They do not actually make you stand on the scale. But he's listed as a white male. His hair color is listed as blonde or strawberry.
Is that a nice way to say orange?
Blonde or strawberry. His eye color is listed as blue. His height is listed as 6'3", and his weight is listed
175.
250.
Listen to these people.
6'3", 215, people pointed out as the exact dimensions of Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if the control room has
Listen to these people.
Jackson.
I mean, the resemblance is uncanny, Chris, and if that's what you're trying to say, I think.
He's in a pod.
I feel like an hour and 20 minutes ago, I said the whole thing is a sham. The whole thing, up to the weight. And I believe 24 hours ago,
Up to the height.
when we were together, I said, I bet he's not at the debate because he's fasting. Now, even if he fasted, there's no way. And Mark Meadows had to also self-report his height and weight. He clocked in at 240.
Honestly.
There's no way Trump is 25 pounds lighter than Meadows.
He's like doubting Ozempic.
This is professional TV in America.
100%.
But you do,
Absolutely.
you do
Professionals.
something that doesn't become a segment. It's ridiculous.
Do we know who entered the hair color? Is that Donald Trump?
Yeah, this is him.
Or is that a legal description of the hair color?
I've never seen in a government document, like, like buying a fishing license or something, you have to there's drop down menus of things to choose between. I've never seen strawberry as an option, but hold on.
Yeah, that's professional people in America, okay? These people think that they're very serious, that they're very intelligent, that they're just having, of course you could say something like, well, they're just having fun, Rob. Yeah, they're just having fun. When this is happening right now, it's not a joke, actually. But they're treating it as a joke because they're just people who are mad with power, who have no idea what they're even doing. This whole thing is like sport for them. It's almost bloodlust for them. But they sound idiotic. I mean, they sound like kids or children joking about nonsense. If I was at a dinner with those people and this was the conversation, I'd say, you guys are insane. Is this what you do? We're not friends anymore. No, not friends. Because you sound like morons, like 8-year-old children who are bickering over somebody's weight and just dogpiling on somebody that you hate. It sounds pathetic. But they will come, tomorrow, they'll be on their shows and they will have a stupid monologue that probably somebody else wrote for them because they've got no talent at all. Rachel Maddow works 1 day a week, for crying out loud. And then they'll read their stupid script and a bunch of people will just lap it up and they'll just say, wow, this is great. These people are brilliant, brilliant analysis. Morons. And there's a lot of people who are, these people are piped right into their brains through their cable networks. And it's kind of a disgusting affair. It's, Nero fiddled, Rome burned. These people are just laughing at their side, gobbling up power, but it's shattering years of precedent. And they're so dumb that they can't even realize it. They can't even offer anything insightful. They just talk about weight and hair color. Idiots. So now somebody who's providing a little bit more analysis over on CNN, they're actually having a conversation with a tiny bit of substance. But they're upset, man, that this mugshot dropped. They can't believe that people are having fun with this thing. How is this possible? This mugshot was supposed to wreck everybody's weekend, but it didn't. And campaign and country, but it didn't. This is their interpretation of it. Listen how upset she is that we're all making a mockery of this incredible, iconic image.
In terms of how iconic that photo is, we now have his supporters in Georgia photoshopping themselves into mugshots, Fulton County mugshots, putting those on Twitter and calling them MAGA mugshots and saying now it's on. So he has galvanized his supporters even further. That's going to be a huge problem if he makes it to a general campaign.
It is.
But so far right now, his base is sticking with him.
That's right,
more
baby.
than they ever have.
That's right.
We can put one of those up.
That's right. Good analysis, right? That's right. The base is sticking with him. I don't know why it's going to be a problem in the general election. I think it's going to be a great rallying cry during the general election. Continue to see how illegitimate each one of these prosecutions are as time goes by.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she tweeted out a photoshopped mugshot with the hashtag MAGA mugshot. Jeremy, you've been shaking your head as that was described. What are you thinking?
It's deplorable. It's a mockery of justice. It shows the insanity, or for lack of a better term, of people who are so lost in their obsession with Donald Trump and this theory that the election was stolen. And I saying pathetic is not strong enough. It's just really sad.
Very upset that we're not taking this seriously. You know, this process is very important. Fani is a legitimate person. She's definitely there because she earned it, certainly. And this is a perfectly legitimate case brought in the interest of justice to save American democracy. No, the whole thing's a joke. This guy is living in his own little deluded world where he still thinks that we think that there are legitimate institutions that are doing this. We don't. And the mugshot is empowering. It is encouraging. It is an energy shift. They don't like it. You could hear them, right? They're very upset about this. It's despicable. They're making a mockery of this. How could they do such a thing? Well, they did, certainly did. Here's a good one. I thought this one was a nice one. I thought this one was like, man, you could probably put that in a frame. This one came over from Twitter, Robert Abshire. Shout out to Robert Abshire. So I found a whole thread of these from Carl Benjamin, who's on Twitter. He put a whole thing of these together. Everybody is enjoying the memes. For example, look at this photograph. It's right there. Donald Trump. That's the Nickelback meme. So we got to have that one. We love that one. Here's a good mugshot. Oh, that's the presidential seal behind that. Oh, yeah, coming soon. Here's one. I like this one. I think this one is a nice rendering. Shout out to Robert. We've got this one. Trump's back. Here's Trump. We like that one. Here's a good one. Here's another one. This is Trump and Pepe, you know, just chilling. Having a good one. That's the better catchphrase. There's the better catchphrase. Here's Donnie. Yes, that's the better catchphrase. I should have known. That's the better one. All right, so we've got Pepe's in the house. Let's see Pepe. Who else we got? So Pepe and Trump just zoned down. I think they're snowboarding or something. Here's one. Revenge. Parental advisory. Explicit lyrics coming soon. And so Trump is, man, he's thugged out, baby. You know, he's gangster now. We've also got this one, like your school photo. Like when your mom says, hey, little Robbie, you better smile in class. When you got school pictures today, put this on, go out there and smile. Trump shows up and this is his smile. And of course, you know how your school photos were with the laser backgrounds, you know, from your school photos. Mom, you better smile for your school photo. Me. All right, so here's another one. Posting mean things again. This is a new album by Trump and the MAGA Hat Boys. Parental advisory here. Posting mean things again. That's another one. Here's another one from Wolverine. Wolverine is missing Trump. You know, Wolverine was out there fighting all of the bad guys who try to destroy humanity. And he's just taking a load off. And he's missing Trump. He's just saying, hey, you know, I miss you, man. Sorry this is happening to you. I love you. Miss you, man. Wolverine, you know, tough guy. He's a big fan of Trump. And so Trump 2024, baby. Yeah, it's like, man, we miss you, man. We're thinking about you. Even the X-Men are thinking about Trump. We've got this one, almost iconic in the rendering of the Obama image, just sort of, you know, repurposing this for the Trump crew. We've got this one, as we saw, Retribution with the MAGA laser eyes coming in. And then we had this is the actual mugshot. And then there was a whole thread of these. So some good stuff over there, right? Some fun stuff. And man, they hate that. When you take something that they are supposed to use to shatter your confidence or deflate your energy, and you just repurpose it like a judo master back into energy against them, they don't like it one bit. And this is taking hero status into legend status, something that they can't undo. This bell cannot be unrung. and Donald Trump marches on. All right, my friends. So, all right, let's see what's happening here. Now, we've got reaction to the arrest and reaction from a bunch of people. Ted Cruz, McCarthy, Byron Donalds, and others. But let's get into this. Donald Trump has been arrested, and we've got some very different takes on this, including from GOP contenders Vivek and DeSantis, who have different opinions about maybe what this means. Two different reactions, one from Vivek, one from DeSantis, and of course, reaction from McCarthy, Ted Cruz, and Byron Donalds, all opining on what do we do now? What's the trajectory of this country now that Trump has had his fourth arrest? So we're going to start today with DeSantis. Now, when Donald Trump was being arrested, he was taking his motorcade into Georgia to face Big Fani, and DeSantis was out in Iowa. And there was a curious exchange here. He was out playing baseball and doing a Photoshop at the Field of Dreams. And somebody asked him this question in passing, just said, hey, what do you think about Trump being out in Georgia for his arrest? Any opinion on that, Governor?
Governor, what do you think about this split screen of you here in the Field of Dreams and former President Trump being arrested in Georgia?
Well, I'm glad I'm at the Field of Dreams. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, glad I'm at the Field of Dreams. Happy to be here. So the reporter says, well, what about this split screen? I mean, here you're in a field in Iowa. Donald Trump is being prosecuted. I'm just happy to be here. And of course, you can't argue with that. I mean, nobody wants to be politically prosecuted in this country. That's kind of insane, right? I would agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't want to be politically prosecuted either. But if I was running for president, I'd probably say something about that little fact, though, that little nugget, because that's really what the question is about. The question wasn't about, hey, Ron, do you wish you were politically prosecuted in Georgia like Trump was? No, I'm happy I'm here in Georgia. That wasn't the question. They just said, you know, what about this split screen, implying, can you please talk about what you think about this arrest? Doesn't even have anything to say about it, which is fine. That's his prerogative. But if he doesn't think it's a big issue, that might be important for some people to know. So this was another thing that happened. Now, Ron got another question asked about this hand raise problem, this hand raise thing that happened back during the debate. And at the debate, there was a question about pardoning Donald Trump, and Vivek was standing right next to him, as you can see this here. We had a little bit of an issue with Ron's hand going up. And to be fair to Ron, earlier in the debate, he had objected to the hand-raising game, and they always do the hand-raising game. And I remember there was some time ago, I think there was somebody running for president called Thompson. Who was that? Who said no hand games here, no hand games here. When they said, you raise your hand, he said, nope, no hand games here. Somebody said no hand games. And so we're always at, are they going to raise hands like stupid kids? You know, shout out to all the kids out there. In classrooms, you know, these debates are really mostly useless because how can you explain Russia-Ukraine policy in 60 seconds? But okay. So they do this hand raise thing. Ron is little slow on the uptake. You see him kind of looking around over there, looking to the left, looking to the right. And I think you're going to hear him explain his justification for it. But here is what the exchange looked like from the debate. Ron's going to explain this in a minute.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
President Trump, I believe, was the best president.
All right, so we saw that if Trump
of the 21st.
If Trump is convicted, would you still support him? And that's a very important concept, okay? Because if the conviction becomes or happens before the nomination or before the vote, in terms of timing, would you still support him? And we've got the answer. Immediately, Vivek was up. We've got Haley was up. Tim Scott was up. No problem. We've got Ron kind of looks around a little bit. Looks to his right there. Looking to his right. Looks to his left over there. Hand goes up. Then Mike Pence's hand goes up. Then Christie does his little whatever he said he did. Then Vivek goes on there and explains himself. Now, some questions about that. People saying, oh, Ron, you're a little slow on the uptake. What's going on here? Here is what he said, and here is how he explained it. Now, again, just like that prior clip, we're paying close attention to the timing. Conviction before nomination, okay? Conviction before nomination. And something interesting happened there, because in this clip, Ron said, I would support pardoning him if there was a conviction before the nomination. All right, so the question's a little different. Now he's going to explain it. Let's listen.
You seemed to hesitate before raising your hand to commit to backing Trump.
And it wasn't because of that. I signed that pledge. I will follow the pledge. I mean, 100%. I objected to doing the hand raise, and I thought most of the candidates seemed to agree with me. And so I was like, okay, are we really doing this? And people were doing it. So I made the pledge. I will follow through with the pledge. I don't sign pledges and not follow through. I don't think he would be the nominee at that point, but I signed the pledge, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Did you hear that? I don't think he would be the nominee at that point. What's that all about? So if he is convicted, right? The question was, if he's convicted, but got the nomination, would you still support him? Yes, I would. Would you pardon him? Or support him as the nominee, right? That was the original question. Now I'm getting confused. The original question was, if he was convicted, would you still support him as the party's nominee? Providing that they lose, Trump wins, but gets convicted after sealing up the primary, for example. Would you support a convicted felon, because he probably will be, for president? And he's saying, if that happens, right, if he is convicted, he will not be the nominee. But why though? That's my question. Let's play it again. Let's play it again. Let's play the original question again. We'll do it again. To be clear.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Okay, so if he's the nominee and he's convicted, that means you're not the nominee. Are you going to jump in on board for Donald Trump? And he says, basically, if he's convicted, I won't have to do that because he'll be convicted and therefore he will not be the nominee. And my question is why? Why wouldn't he be the nominee? Why does the conviction automatically make him not the nominee?
Like, okay, are we really doing this? And people were doing it. So I made the pledge. I will follow through with the pledge. I don't sign pledges and not follow through. I don't think he would be the nominee at that point, but I signed the pledge, and that's just the reality of the situation.
I don't think he would be the nominee at that point. So one thesis could be because enough people in the primaries would say that the conviction disqualified Trump, right? It would be during the primaries, the conviction disqualified Trump. That's why they're supporting DeSantis or whomever. But we know that the trials for some of these cases are not even scheduled until after some of the primaries start. So the primary might be settled before. So I'm just very confused. I'm a little concerned that what DeSantis is saying is that maybe the conviction is going to cause Trump, the conviction is going to cause Trump to be disqualified somehow, removed off the ballots or something. I don't know what it is. But I would ask for a follow-up on that. What do you mean by that exactly? And I'm sure his answer would be, well, I just think that I'll win outright, but I'm not so sure about this, right? I think that, my friends, unfortunately, that there will be some party shenanigans afoot. If there's a conviction, there's going to be a big contingency of GOP Republican so-calleds who say it's time for him to go just due to the legalities of it. That will be their fake because in order to boot him from this race. So we've got the other side of this. Vivek, what is his response to Ron DeSantis? Well, he didn't actually respond to Ron, but he's responding here to what happened with Trump. And his position on this is a little different.
Presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy joins us now. Good morning, Vivek.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. We've known you for years. You wrote your book. You've been, you've come on our show a lot. Then we see you up on the debate stage. You decide to run for president, and you just come out so energetic, and the polls are showing that you are loved. You really just came back from behind. Tell us, what is your reaction to all of this?
So I do think we're skating on thin ice as a country right now, Ainsley, and my top goal as U.S. president is to reunite this country. I still believe that's possible. I don't think we're working with a lot of time here. If my two sons, who are toddlers now, if they graduate from 12th grade before we fix this, I genuinely worry we will not have a country left. That is what gives me my sense of urgency, and that is why I have been so clear, despite being a competitor to Donald Trump in this primary. I have been crystal clear that, yes, I will pardon him of any federal crime of which I'm able to. And the reason why is that is a precondition for moving our nation forward. We cannot turn into a banana republic where the party in power uses police force to indict and arrest its political opponents in the middle of an election. That is not how we do it in the United States of America. And if there's one principle we should all be able to unite around, whether or not you disagree with the president, it is we the people who select the president, not the federal administrative police state. And that's why I've been so clear on this issue.
Yeah, it's not even complicated.
Vivek, you mentioned you're a competitor. You and Donald Trump are both competing to be president of the United States, but you guys have a lot of the same policies. And it's like, well, why would I vote for Vivek when I can get the real McCoy if I like Donald Trump's policies?
The reality is, being the president is not just about policy. You're right. Donald Trump and I are both America First candidates. There are some small differences. I would go further with some elements of the America First agenda. Use the military on the southern border, not just build the wall. Shut down the Department of Education, not just put Betsy DeVos, a good person, on top and tell her to reform it. So in many ways, I think I am going further, but that's not the real difference. I'm from a different generation. I'm 38 years old. We are reaching young Americans as somebody who has lived the American dream as a first-generation American. I want to build a multi-ethnic working-class coalition that delivers not just a 50.1 electoral margin, but a landslide, a moral mandate. And I genuinely believe that, as I said before, we're skating on such thin ice that this has to be a landslide election. Like Reagan delivered in 1980, I think I am the single candidate on this Republican primary that can actually deliver that landslide in 2024. And that is a critical step to reunite this country. We're reaching people young and old, black and white, man and woman. It doesn't matter. The places I've gone, from the south side of Chicago to Kensington and Philadelphia, these are places where traditional Republicans don't dare go. Many Democrats don't even dare go. But to me, the America First movement means we put all Americans first. And I think that landslide is something that I'm uniquely equipped to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, President.
All right, so it's an interesting interview with him. They go on and they actually kind of beat him up over his policy on Ukraine and Russia and all the other things, but very different take than Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis has a very difficult time even spitting out hardly an answer. I'm happy to be here. Glad I'm not in Georgia being prosecuted by Big Fani. No kidding. Yeah, got it. Thanks for that, Ron. And so Vivek gives us a clear answer, something that's obviously a little bit more digestible. How about we don't let Big Fani and Merrick Garland and Joe Biden pick our next president because they're going to be imprisoned due to their illegal prosecutions? All right. So McCarthy is also weighing in on this. Here's what he says.
Why would you go after a political opponent just because you disagree with him? Are you afraid of him? Is it because he's ahead in the polls? You indict him? But you never indicted Hillary when she still to this day claims the election was stolen when it proven it was not. Or go down to Georgia that just indicted President Trump. Well, you had a governor's race there that an individual in the Democratic Party claimed was stolen. But nothing happened to that individual. They have a right to investigate. What I have a problem with is using political organizations, but using your government to go after them. DOJ justice in America. One for the Biden family and one for the rest of us.
Different rules. Trump is on the receiving end of it. And so Kevin McCarthy is certainly talking a lot. We appreciate him talking a lot. We also know that this other person is called Ted Cruz. And all right, let's play it.
Who won the first GOP debate of 2024? Who's doing better? Who's doing worse?
What
Don't.
happened from the inside?
Don't do it. Don't.
Listen to this week's Verdict with Ted Cruz podcast. I break down exactly what happened in the debate, who's going to be helped, who's going to be hurt, and we also talk about the mugshot for the ages, Donald Trump's booking photo. Download Verdict with Ted Cruz wherever you get your podcasts.
Will somebody please subscribe to his podcast? Please. Please subscribe to him so he stops making these videos. He's outside of school, for crying out loud. Look, there's a bus. Somebody subscribe to Ted's podcast. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. That's for sure. I'm not going to do it. So, anybody, please, somebody out there. Can somebody do it? So he can get back to work. So he's a senator, for crying out loud. Gosh. All right. Well, all right. I'm not subscribing. I swear I'm not going to do it. All right. So, all right, let's go over to the House of Representatives. Are they doing anything over there? We've got Byron Donalds, who's also with Greg Kelly. And so shout out to Greg Kelly for getting some good guests over there. Man, great stuff. All right, here's Byron Donalds.
That picture, the mugshot, his first tweet in over 2.5 years. Yep, Donald Trump is back on Twitter. Mugshot, August 24th, 2023. Election interference, never surrender. Donald J. Trump.
Where's Byron? There he is.
It's good to be back with you. How you doing?
Great. And I am great. I feel, weirdly optimistic. It's a tragic day, but somehow I think it's all going to work out. What are you thinking right now?
Well, first, man, I'm pissed. And look, after every one of these silly indictments from the radical left, it's really bone chilling to see that they are so crazy and they are so nuts that they are willing to unwind the very institutions of our government to extract some political revenge. And this is a very terrible thing for the country, because what it does is it erodes trust in the very foundations of our government. And look, you cannot have DAs going around with these crazy RICO charges, which, by the way, RICO was designed for the mob. And that's what they're trying to do, is take disparate political actions taken through the veins of going through the legal process of challenging an election and criminalizing it. That is basically a violation of your First Amendment rights to speech. They're criminalizing speech.
Lawyers,
they're criminalizing
everybody.
your ability to assemble. And all the while, they turned a blind eye to the real corruption happening with Joe Biden, with Hunter Biden. And I'll go more than that. We have the weaponization of the Department of Justice. We have the FBI that's turned a blind eye to so many things coming from the Democrat side of the aisle. And if the Democrats decide that all they want to do is pursue political uses of the justice system, then it's going to destroy the very country that they lied so much to everybody saying that they want to save. This is a very terrible day for the country.
Meanwhile, we have Hunter Biden sitting next to his father, it looks like, shaking down the Chinese. And it goes unmentioned by dominant media. Unmentioned. This is
or else,
smoking gun evidence of corruption, and it is ignored. I can't actually
100 Pennsylvania Avenue, because what we've already uncovered in the Oversight Committee is that crooked Joe Biden, and obviously that's the president's name for him right now, but crooked Joe Biden and his family set up a scheme to shake down foreign countries. It is pay for play. It is bribery. They're all in on it. And that actually is racketeering. So that's where we are right now. And it is awful to see what's happening to the country.
Yeah, racketeering, like when you're...
Byron Donalds in the House, and he is right. It is a horrific thing that they're doing. They're doing it as part of a bigger plan, a bigger scheme. And I think that they've got the next steps already gamed out. They're not done with the indictments. The indictments are going to lead to trials. They are betting on a conviction, and they're going to use that conviction to parlay it into something else, which is going to be the removal of him from ballots in various states. So we've got people all throughout the political sphere continuing to comment about it, and we'll see if the Republicans get together and come up with a unified plan, or if they'll continue to just let Trump do all the heavy lifting. All right. As we carry on, my friends, speaking of mugshots, how about a mugshot for Joe Biden and Hunter Biden? Haven't seen those yet. Nancy Mace says there may be one that is due because there's over $50 million that she's identified that have come into the coffers of these two people for really nobody knows why. No goods or services that they actually provided that were normal, other than the exploitation of American interest or using the power of the presidency to exploit American power. So there are 16 times that Joe Biden has lied to Americans and to the media and to the world. We're going to go through all of them because the Oversight Committee put out a very nice report along with video clips and video evidence. So every time one of the people on the left say, what has Joe Biden done? How about 16 lies to you and to your face? Does that matter to you at all? Here's Nancy Mace saying a mugshot might be due because there's $50 million that they've come across. And it's not just that, it's probably much more.
This is based on documents that you've seen that we have not seen yet. So can you, is it still 50 million? Is it more now? I mean, what do you know?
Staggeringly high. It's definitely more than 50 million. It's staggeringly high. I'm not allowed to share the confidential information in the suspicious activity report sitting at the Treasury right now, but the amount of money we are talking about is staggering. And the fact that mainstream media has just ignored this, swept this under the rug and said all of this is normal. This is probably the most corrupt president in U.S. history. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I come from a very purple district, but the double standard here is very obvious. There's two different standards of justice in this country. And, you know, Joe Biden ought to probably have a mugshot when this thing is said and done. And I want the American people to see all the evidence that we have.
Yeah, let's get mugshots for Joe, mugshots for Hunter, mugshots for Hillary, mugshots for Christopher Wray, Merrick Garland, Barack Obama. Get the whole list. Who cares? All right, so this is the list. 16 different times that they have lied to all of us. Here is the list. From the Oversight Committee, published August 24th, Joe Biden lied at least 16 times about his family's business interests. We're going to go down a little trip down memory lane. August 28, 2019, Joe Biden was running for president. Here's what he said. I've never discussed with my son, I've never discussed anything having to do with their businesses, period. Here's the clip.
First of all, I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. And what I will do is the same thing we did in our administration. There'll be an absolute wall between personal and private and the government. There wasn't any hint of scandal at all when we were there, and I'll impose the same kind of strict rules. Nope. That's why I never talk with my son or my brother or anyone else.
Call them every day.
Even distant family about their business interests, period.
Never, none of that ever happened. That's all a big fat lie. So he called, they talked all the time, and he even showed up at business dinners, business meetings. And so the list just goes on and on. And so that was, here, let's get this situated again. I didn't realize they didn't open that in a new window. Very annoying of them to do that. Their web developer kind of goofed on that one. All right, so here's another one. September 21st, 2019. Have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings? I've never spoken to my son about overseas business dealings. Here's what they've got.
Following former Vice President Joe Biden on the campaign trail, Peter Ducey is joining us now from Des Moines, Iowa Live.
And so how do you know?
Let's talk about, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
Obviously lied about that. Another one, October 4th, 2019. See if he stands by this statement. This one's also on YouTube.
Excuse me, there's a photo of you golfing with your son Hunter and his business partner Devin Archer. Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business?
Yes, I stand by that statement.
Lie, another lie. Here's another one. This one came from October 9th. They've assembled the whole list.
I don't discuss business with my son. I didn't know that was the case when in fact I found out after the fact. And because I don't discuss things with my son or my family, because I don't want to have any knowledge of any, I don't want to be accused of, well, you talk with your son or you talk with your whomever.
Yeah, but the problem is he was using a fake pseudonym and then copying his son on that stuff. This one is from 2019 as well. It says no family members involved.
Mr. Vice President, as you said, your son Hunter today gave an interview, admitted that he made a mistake and showed poor judgment by serving on that board in Ukraine. Did you make a mistake by letting him? You were the point person on Ukraine at the time, if you can answer.
Look, my son's statement speaks for itself. I did my job. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. No one has indicated I have. We've always kept everything separate. Even when my son was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware, we've never discussed it. So there'd be no potential conflict.
Wrong son.
My son made a judgment. I'm proud of the judgment he made. I'm proud of what he had to say.
You are? You're proud of all of that? Wow, that's pretty interesting, because a lot of people say it was highly corrupt. Here's one from 2019.
So you wouldn't change anything you did? You don't regret any?
No, I don't. And because I never discussed with my son anything having to do with what was going on in Ukraine. That's a fact. But here's the look, guys. Let's focus on what the problem is here.
You, brother, that's the problem. All right, here's one from 60 Minutes. I don't think he was falling asleep in this one. To October, another lie. Did he pay taxes on all that money? So you see, he says that he's a grown man, and he says, I hope you know what you're doing. But why would you say that if you weren't concerned about what they were doing? Like, doesn't a normal parent say, whoa, you got a job at that law firm? Congratulations, man. Whoa, you've got a job here? Well, you're starting a business? Congratulations. You know, it's exciting. Not, I hope you know what you're doing. Don't get indicted. Here's another one. This one was on October 29th, 2019. Another lie from Joe.
Acknowledging that you've said now that your son, your family will not be involved. They won't have offices in the White House, rather, in the West Wing. As
he lives
the
there.
President's
Hunter
family
lives
has,
there.
but that they will not have any businesses, foreign businesses. If it's not appropriate, if you were to become the nominee or the President of the United States, rather, why was it appropriate when you were the Vice President for him to have foreign investments?
Well, the fact is, I was unaware of his investments until it occurred, and I've never discussed what my son's business with him because I didn't want any conflict, including my deceased son, Bo, was the Attorney General and was suing banks apparently, during the recession, and when we weren't, et cetera. So we just kept everything. We've kept everything separate. And my son's comments speak for himself. He said that if he had known, if he had thought through what Giuliani and those thugs were about to do, he regrets having done it.
Giuliani was the problem, not Hunter at all. Here's Jen Psaki, reporter, asks her a question. Here's what she said.
The president has said that he never spoke to his son about his overseas business dealings. Is that still the case?
Yes.
Never spoke to the son about overseas. Obviously, that was a lie. Here's one from Joe. This one's more recently. Did you ever lie? Did you lie about speaking to Hunter about his business deals? He said no. Another one, August 9th, 2023. This one's another one with Ducey.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
I never talked business in England. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so here's another one. And so you see there's a bunch of lies there. This is from a depot. Since we were talking about it before the break, can you say who was there at this dinner at Cafe Milano? Yeah, Kenis Rakishev, Kareem Mazumov, Yelena Baturina, Yuri, Hunter, Joe Biden was there, and Eric Sherwin. The duration of the time, how long was Joe Biden there? How long did he stay there? He had dinner. Yeah, I recall that he had dinner. It was a regular, not a long dinner, but it was a dinner. So Joe Biden sat for dinners with these people. Keynes, Karim, Yelena, she's still the Russian oligarch who has not been sanctioned yet. People are asking why. So Joe literally sat down and had dinner with all of the business people, including Eric Sherwin, the family's business guy. And so this dinner was taking place in 2014. Do you recall getting a wire from Yelena Baturina, the Russian oligarch, for $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca, the Biden companies? Yeah. Let's move on to the second dinner. The second dinner? What? Who was there? It was Vladimir. It was Hunter. It was Joe Biden, myself, Kareem, a Greek Orthodox priest, and maybe someone from World Food Program. And what did Joe do at dinner? Did he have dinner? How long he was there? Yes, he had dinner. And he was there, I believe. The first one was like a birthday dinner, and the second one, we were supposed to talk about the World Food Program, so there was some talk about that. We know that Hunter had his daddy on the phone over 20 times. Devin Archer confirmed that. Approximately how many times? He says, I don't know, 20 times. Joe Biden attended the CEFC meeting, which was the Chinese energy company. FBI Special Agent Joshua Wilson asks Rob Walker, says, did the VP ever show up at any CEFC meeting or anything like that? Even once he was out of office, did he ever show up? Yes. At any times when he was in the office, did you hear Hunter say that he was setting up a meeting with his dad with them while his dad was still in office? Yeah. We've got more text messages. Z, please have the director call me tonight. Have him call me. I am sitting here with my father. Another lies. Here's another one from Joe.
Any reaction to House GOP's memo about your family dealings, sir? Any reaction to House GOP's new memo about your family dealings, sir?
Family dealings?
Yes, you're revealing that Hunter Biden's business associate sent over $1 million to 3 of your family members. Any reaction to that report?
Not true, he says. Yes, it is. It is true. Look at all these donos, Joe. Beneficiary accounts, 5,025. Biden, Hallie Biden, Owasco, Hunter's company. All the originating accounts, all the beneficiary accounts, all listed. Biden, Hallie Biden, First Clearinghouse, Owasco, that's Hunter. Owasco, 100 grand, 50 grand. Owasco, 300 grand. Biden, $1 million. A lot of money. Joe Biden also lied about Hunter not making money from China. We know that is also a lie. He's made a ton of money from China.
There have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not.
Investigating.
Because it never, ever happened.
Investigating your
My
calls
son
to fire
has not
Shokin.
made money in terms of this thing about,
China.
what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Not true. That was a lie. He literally lied about that. Hunter made a ton of money. Here's the money. Here's how it came in. China to Chairman Ye, the same guy Hunter was threatening. Chairman, I'm sitting right here with my daddy. Give me the money or else. That's the guy. So the money would flow to Hudson West through Gong Wang Dong. Then it'd go to CEFC. Then it'd go to the Biden family. They'd also funnel it through Hudson West too. Lion Hall Group was run by James and Sarah Biden. Hallie Biden got paid a ton of money. We got a diamond ring from State Energy, HK Company, went over to Hunter. And many others. An unknown Biden also was in on the grift. Here's the plan. They would create infrastructure. Hudson West, which was a fake shell company, would be part of that. Then they would remove Hudson West and add this guy in. Then they would send money, 10 million bucks. They would get paid for facilitating the deal. Owasco would get 100 grand for facilitating it. Tons of lies. We already saw Joe say nothing was unethical. Devin Archer testified, kept saying that Joe Biden was selling the brand. But by brand, you mean the family, right? The brand means the family? Yeah. We're selling the brand because when Hunter makes the deal, Joe Biden's going to execute on it. His value was that he was adding the family. But what was the basis for that? It's about opening doors, globally in DC, and Hunter sent the right signals. Devin says, my only thought is that I think Burisma would have gone out of business if it didn't have the brand attached to it, okay? If Hunter Biden and his connections to Daddy weren't there, they wouldn't have gotten anything done. There was a dinner at the Four Seasons. Mikhailo Zolchevsky from Burisma, Ukraine. Did Zolchevsky or Vladimir ask Hunter to make any phone calls? Yes. The request was, I think, that they were getting pressure. What kind of pressure? Government pressure. And so, what were they asking for? Well, basically, like, can DC help? Can DC help? Hunter carried a powerful name, and that's what they were asking for. Here's the clip from the Tucker exchange with Devin and Tucker.
The reaction to what you've said in public, to what you said to the committee on the Hill, and doubtless to what you've been telling us in this interview, is that, like, there's no corruption here at all. This is totally normal. Joe Biden had no role whatsoever in his son's business or knowledge of it. But
right.
That seems false.
Yeah, I think that's categorically false. I think that
categorically false.
He was aware of Hunter's business. He met with Hunter's business partners. You found a letter that illustrates that he knew me.
And he's thanking you. He's thanking you for his efforts.
So I think that was, I think
your efforts. Yeah.
I think that's that's not factually right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Joe Biden sent Devin Archer a literal letter that said, I'm grateful that you're getting into business with Hunter, essentially. So this is another clip. This was an exchange from 2019, another live from Joe Biden.
A lot of the Ukraine charges about you have been debunked and were unfair. There's one thing that a lot of Democrats even do wonder about, and that is Hunter Biden, your son, was getting paid a lot of money to serve on the board of a Ukrainian energy company facing serious corruption charges. You were the vice president running point on Ukraine. The average Joe hears that and says, that sounds fishy. What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board, and that was it. And there's nobody.
Well, you've had a lot of time. Isn't this something you want to get to the bottom of?
No, because I trust my son.
But that doesn't pass the smell test. Like, when you're vice president, isn't there a higher standard? Don't you need to know what's happening with your family? Don't you need to put down some guardrails?
Unless there was something something on its face that was wrong. There's nothing on its face that was wrong. So look, if you want to talk about problems, let's talk about Trump's family.
Here we go.
I mean, come on. This is...
Doesn't like this line of question.
You guys are amazing.
You guys are amazing.
So you think that everything that happened was kosher?
There's not one single bit of evidence, not one little tiny bit, to suggest anything done was wrong.
He did not like that one. So Joe, very irritated. And this is like just a couple of years ago. He could actually kind of talk back then. We had the two whistleblowers who exposed all of this created by the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. So the entire report drafted by them, 16 different lies chronicled, and the evidence is clear. Now, are the Republicans going to actually do anything about it? That's a separate question. But my friends, the lies are everywhere. We've got reaction from Comer and Jim Jordan. explaining their thoughts on all of these lies as they continue to pile up.
We all trips. His son has flown with him on Air Force Two. It's taken a long time to get that information out. We finally know now. There were over a dozen times.
13 times that we know of, sir?
Yes, over a dozen times. And these aren't business deals. That's what people say. These are business deals. These were shakedowns, Sean. This is where they go in there and they try to sell access to Joe Biden, and they're selling access to some of the worst people in some of the worst countries in the world. And the whole brand, as Devin Archer testified in a transcribed interview, was Joe Biden. And Hunter Biden needed to be seen with Joe Biden. He needed to put Joe Biden on the phone. He needed to be copied on emails. Like we're just now fighting with the pseudonym incident where Joe Biden was disguising and hiding his name and then forwarding information relevant to some shady business dealings that Hunter was having. All of this was part of the plan. This was the Biden business model led by Joe Biden.
Let me ask you about this timeline. Is it true, sir, that in October of 2015 that it became...
And we just found that out this week. I can't believe no one asked that question before, but it appears that Joe Biden created this narrative and the media went along with it that Shokin was corrupt and he needed to be terminated, when now we found correspondence from the Obama administration that actually applauded the reform efforts that Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor, had done.
And they just made it up. Shokin was receiving praises. In fact, they were going to, in the emails, reconfirm that $1 billion loan. The question is, did Joe Biden have any other rational basis to threaten to withhold that? Or was that only to just get rid of the one prosecutor and stop one key investigation into Burisma so that he could make good on his son's promises? They were paying him $1 million a year. If daddy doesn't deliver, what are they going to do about that? This is Senator Kennedy, who is explaining what this is all really about.
Well, it seems to me, Sean, that Hunter Gate is about two things: privilege and sleaze. First, the privilege.
Good summary.
President Biden and many members of the media lecture us incessantly about the injustice of privilege, especially so-called white privilege. But to me, that's like being lectured about gun safety by Alec Baldwin. Because when they lecture us about privilege, they never mention Hunter Biden, who is the epitome of privilege. How did Hunter Biden earn these millions of dollars? Is it because he's so smart?
Yes, smartest man Joe knows.
How smart is it to turn over a laptop with incriminating information to a stranger?
That was the drugs, though.
How smart is it to try to deduct your hookers on your federal income tax?
I think they teach that at Harvard or Yale. I don't know. He went to Yale.
The Ukrainian and Chinese companies picked Mr. Hunter Biden because they were impressed with his resume on ZipRecruiter? No.
Did he post there?
It was his daddy. It was always about his daddy. Hunter Biden is just a vessel. He's just a lucky sperm.
Whoa.
And the next time that you are lectured, we are lectured about privilege, I want people to remember that. Point two, if you are fair-minded and have any sort of moral compass, all this sleaze surrounding Hunter Biden and President Biden and their family has got to make you want to gag. Now, I know what the official White House line is. The official White House line is that, look, President Biden is just a good family man who talks to 6 out of his 7 grandchildren every day, and who is such a swell daddy that he regularly calls into Hunter's business meetings to talk about weather. Now, if you believe that, you will never own your own home. At a minimum, the evidence brought forth by the House and by Senator Grassley, by the way, in the Senate, is clarion clear that President Biden was well aware of what his son was doing, and he aggressively enabled it.
And he also...
And that's sleazy.
All right, Senator Kennedy with a little comedy routine there. Quite good. He can deliver it. When he's on, you know, he can really string them together. So pretty funny and definitely all true. And as funny as it is and as enjoyable as it is to watch him dunk on these people, we also would like to see some action. So maybe they can join hands in the Senate with podcast guy Ted Cruz, James Comer, Nancy Mace, and the others to do something about the 16 times Biden lied, in addition to all of the other criminalities that we have seen and exposed here. We'll continue to cover it. Hopefully they start doing stuff in the meantime. Thank you for subscribing, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we go through all of this and more. Now, let's hear from you and see what you have to say. We covered some good ground today. 16 times Biden lied. Vivek versus DeSantis, and whether or not they're going to support Donald Trump if he gets convicted. We have the mugshot media smear backfire, which was a lot of fun. Very interesting new memes out there that we're all adopting as our own now. And of course, Donald Trump's reaction and his new return to X, his post-arrest post, and more. Now it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about this. Of course, before we jump into those, one reminder that we've got a new website now, robertgovea.com. You can sign up for our daily newsletter. So if you miss the show, you'll get a summary of everything that we talk about the next day delivered right to your inbox, all free. You can also sign up to get access to this mind map along with a video tutorial about how to use the mind map at robertgovea.com. And of course, we've got our reports section where you can read summaries of the videos in case you miss anything and are running short on time. But now, my friends, let's see who is in the house. And this morning, we had this one coming in from GSD Lady, who's over on Locals from our members only morning stream. And we missed this one. We are good to see you here. GSD Lady says, and in the epitome of hypocrisy, those who demand we toss our gas stoves and light bulbs and ceiling fans around, drive around in big gas guzzlers, private jets, huge houses with fancy freezers, all full of ice cream. And we played a clip this morning of Bill Gates, who was yelling at us that he spends $7 million on clean energy while he flies around on multiple planes. It's like a joke. Good to see you, GSD. We got Ollie is here. What's up, Ollie? Ollie's in the house as a supporter. Ollie, amazing. So for our new members, grab the Telegram link in the community tab section below on YouTube. So navigate to the channel, community tab, grab the Telegram link. We're going to go over there for our members only after party in a short minute. Thank you to John McGarvey. Very big welcome to 5 new members, courtesy of John McGarvey. Thank you, John. Raul Ramirez coming in the house. Just Cause coming in. Eddie Clay. We got James P. and Don't Mind Me. All coming in, courtesy of John McGarvey in the house. And look who's here. Dolphin fan is the man. Welcome to Castro Valley Lip. We got Islanders here. Leah Dewa. We got Duns. And last of Yahoos, all coming in as new members, courtesy of Dolphin fan is the man. Dolphin, thank you so much. And also for our new members, we'll be back here tomorrow morning for our members only Saturday stream, which is where we hit the headlines on the Saturday. It's like Saturday morning cartoons, you know. It's a lot of fun. So thank you, Dolphin, for bringing in 5 new members. We've got Rob, Christian Fellowship Rob says 187 million views of Trump's mugshot, 257 million views of the Tucker Trump interview. Do any of the candidates have this many views on any tweets or interviews? Nope, not even Biden has these numbers. And oh my gosh, I forgot to play something today. I forgot to clip this. Man, sometimes I forget stuff. I wanted to incorporate this one into one of the segments. Biden responded. Did I clip this? Biden responded to the mugshot. All right, this is why I didn't clip it, because it didn't save into my clip. That's why. That's how I missed it. All right, so let's see. I'll get it. This is the one from Colin Rugg. Joe Biden responded. Now, the thing that keyed me off on this is look at all the enthusiasm for Trump. 187 million mugshot views, 257 million views of Tucker. Listen to this. Joe Biden is in Nevada at Lake Tahoe, and listen to the crowd as he comes walking out. Is this a Republican stronghold? Lake Tahoe, Nevada? Is this a Republican stronghold?
Mr. President. I've been talking to you. Is it? Obviously, I'm concerned. I think that there should be a circumstance where the jobs that are being displaced, replaced with new jobs, they should go to the first choice should go to the UAW members who had the job, and the salary should be commensurate.
Have you seen Donald Trump's mugshot yet? Mr. President, are you worried at all about that?
I did see it on television.
What'd you think?
Handsome guy. Wonderful guy.
All right, so handsome guy, wonderful guy. You know, he's staying at a billionaire's mansion out there. The guy's name is something. We looked that up this morning on who that guy was. So apparently, yeah, they're saying, yeah, this county is a pretty red county in Nevada. It's called Douglas County. It's pretty red. So I guess all the protesters are out. I don't know why he went there. But yeah, did you hear him? He's kind of laughing at the mugshot.
The job, and the salary should be commensurate.
Have you seen Donald Trump's mugshot yet? Mr. President, are you worried at all about that?
I did see it on television.
What'd you think?
Handsome guy. Wonderful guy.
Handsome guy, wonderful guy. You're prosecuting your political opponent, you disgusting person. All right, well, that's our president. So I did see it. Handsome guy. Doesn't even want to talk about it. That's what we've got. That's who's in charge. All right. Allegedly in charge. We've got Catherine Rex is here. Good to see you, Catherine. Sending this one in. Everyone, calm down. I've just arrived. Good to see you, Catherine. Sharon Drury became a supporter. Welcome aboard, Sharon Drury. We'll see you in the after party and on our members only morning stream tomorrow. Mark Owens is here. Happy Friday indeed, Mark. Thanks for the dono, my friend. I hope you had a beautiful week. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I appreciate you being here. We got the good doctor is over on Local, says, I make the case to anyone I know, if they think that voting for president is meaningless due to the oligarchy, for example, Exhibit A, President Biden, we must re-elect Trump to defeat the deep state. It's our only hope. Certainly, like I understand the trepidation with voting, and I understand the feelings of futility, but it's what we've got. We've got to absolutely, it's like you got to work with the tools you got, and you got to absolutely maximize every single advantage on the tools that you do have. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. It's going to be so overwhelming, it's going to be hard to even imagine. Wims is here, says, my goodness, that's a lot of fanniness. And you're right about that, Wims. There was like the conversation in the show today about the multiple layers of fannies. You've got city district, you got city court fannies, you've got county fannies, and you've got statewide fannies. Then you've got, federal fannies and all the, federal deputy fannies. And it's just the whole list goes on and on. It's a giant mess. And when there's that many fannies, you want to get out of the way. Trust me. All right. NY says, makes sense. The Georgia AG is the only one to bring the charges. Why doesn't a judge throw these charges out? It's a weakness in our legal system. Judges should have the power to review things that are obviously are wrong. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes, yeah, you're right. Sometimes the judges, in most cases, right, the judges, unless it's obviously glaringly wrong, like a jurisdictional issue, judges might be able to make that claim. But if it's not a settled issue, like if it's not settled and Fannie's claiming it, the judges are going to bring it up on their own. Trump or somebody's going to have to bring that up. Yeah. Southern Comfort says, I'm ready for my mugshot. You're not alone. You're in good company. A lot of good mugshots out there. Embrace the mugshot. That's right. We're all prisoners now. Who cares? Just like we're all racist, we're all bigots, we're all xenophobes, we're all, anti-science. I love that one. We're all prisoners in America in solidarity with Trump. Salty Sarge says Trump's mugshot should be in the dictionary next to righteous indignation. That's a good way to phrase it. Rob says, Rob, thanks for the great show as always. Funny, Biden's tweet only has 4.7 million views versus Tucker Trump video, 257 million views, and the mugshot, similar numbers. That's a good thing. I could have checked that as a nice compare and contrast, but thank you. It's not even close. Orders of magnitude different. But I'm sure he's going to have just incredible turnout, this next election. Historic turnout, I'm sure. Music Micro Gaming Mix in the house. Thank you, Music Micro. I appreciate you sending that one in. NY says, just like the failure of Air America, no sane American would pay for MSNBC. It's bundled and free. I disagree. Few people watch this. You're right. What did I say? Millions? I overestimated by a lot. They don't have millions of people. Most of those shows, like every night, it's still a big number. I've looked at the numbers. It's pretty, they're, hundreds of thousands per night. But you're right about this. Like, if those people were on YouTube, would people subscribe to their channels? I don't know. I don't know if they would. Like, if they had to start from the bottom, like we did, would they build an audience? I don't know. With that type of analysis, I have a hard time believing. Maybe. There are a lot of Democrats who also think that way. So maybe they'd have millions. Who knows? All right, Rob says, I don't have a join option on my YouTube. My account may be blocked. Can someone look at it with me? I'd really like to go to the after party. So Rob, join us on Locals. So if you're on Rumble, so Locals is probably the best place to join. If you're not already on, you're watching right now on Rumble, where you sent this one in, that's from Rumble. So the one that matches with Rumble is Locals. If you're already a YouTube watcher, then it probably makes most sense to join as a YouTube member. So that may be the problem. You might, and there's no button on Rumble to join on Locals, but that's how you would join us. Thank you for that. Chapa is in the house, says he wants to finish the job, talking about Biden. We are a nation in pursuit of a more perfect union. The job is never supposed to be done. He is doing something else. From Chapa in the house. Well, he probably wants 3 more or 4 more years of not being prosecuted and prosecuting his opponents. And if he gets another term, he'll certainly be able to make the whole Hunter thing go away. No doubt about it. Patrick Parker's in the house. Thank you, Patrick. Gifting 5 new membos. We got 5 new people coming in. Thanks to Patrick Parker in the house. C. Warren, Cheryl P., Hev MC, B. Train, and T. Hill all coming in. Courtesy of Patrick Parker. Thank you, Patrick. And we'll see everybody in the after party and tomorrow on the morning stream. Rob says, it's the Trump jiu-jitsu move. Yeah, you take the old mugshot and use that energy to mugshot back at them. Music Micro with another one. Thank you, Music Micro. Thank you for that one. This one from Rob White. Thank you, Rob White's in the house. Good to see Rob White's here. SD1985 says, can Trump be held accountable to anything in Big Fani's case that was done prior to January 20th since he was the sitting president? Well, I think everything. Yeah, so I think he's going to make that claim that federal supremacy justifies the removal and the dismissal of the case. That all of these things he's immunized essentially because they were all within the scope of his power as president. It's a similar argument that Mark Meadows is making. We haven't seen it officially yet from Trump, but we will. I know that Sidney Powell just filed a motion for a speedy trial. And so we're going to see maybe some sever arguments. We're going to see a lot of this on Monday. So hang tight. But thanks for the dono, SD1985. We'll see a lot more of it on Monday. We got Salty Sarge says, Rob, you have to admit that Ted Cruz does have a cool looking suit. I think they call that color metal. I like Ted Cruz. I just like to give him a hard time because he's always shilling his podcast, man. It's like, you're a senator. You could be doing senator type work too. But I actually think it's a good thing. Like, I just like to dunk on him because I think it's funny. But I think it's good that they are actually building out their platforms, that they are building out audiences and trying to create distributions for their messages. I think it's a good thing. And I actually think, having a podcast is a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, but it's Ted, right? It's Ted Cruz. So it's like, all right. I just kind of like to dunk on him. Yeah. What can you do? You got Spuds is here. Another one from Music Micro Gaming Mix in the house. Thank you. Spuds says, Biden is the new Kleenex brand. Biden is the new Kleenex brand as well. We got Patrick Parker says, I have to say, that all these people that keep on attacking the right, it's nothing but losers. And they deserve what it's going to be coming to them when Donald Trump makes it back into office. Right. Peaceful political repercussions. Trump, this is all peaceful political operation of democracy, right? According to them, these aren't partisan political hack prosecutions. No. So that's fine. So when Trump wins and it's a bunch of MAGA insurrectionists in charge, they can use the same peaceful political process that is totally legitimate to prosecute everybody. Everybody. And they can have the same privileges that they afforded the other side, which is solitary confinement for anybody who even went into the wrong building and was waved in by a cop. They are all busted, buddy. It's going to be brutal. All right. Falafel Bay is here. Says DC sucks. That's true. That is true. Bunch of losers over there. Catherine Rex is here. Harris Floyd has been denied bail in Georgia. Harris Floyd has been denied bail in Georgia. Who is that? One of the people on the Georgia Big Fani case? Yeah. We got Salty Sarge says Poroshenko on Biden's phone call to him said that Shokin has resigned, even though there was absolutely no evidence of corruption on his part. Right. Shokin was actually investigating corruption in Ukraine. And I think he found it, which was the Biden corruption, the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden corruption, and all of the Zlochevskys and all of the Burisma board members, they were all busted. But so Shokin had to go because he found exactly what he was looking for. A Bad Poet says, bet Bribham's S-Docs, Burisma, Ukraine, China, Power, etc. I think we will see more documents, SARS and other things. Trust 2 Kids is over on Rumble, says, thanks, Rob, for a great stream. Tough week, Rumble chat, great as always. Of course, Rumble, we love our Rumble friends. We got Cookie Doughs over there. You know, they changed the Rumble format a little bit on the chat. I think it's looking good. Salty Sarge, we got Vegas Oasis, Jan X there, designed by Roe. Good to see everybody. We got the Roosters here. Donut Mind Me, Salty Sarge is in the house. What's this one? Oh, we've got a Jeffrey Toobin fan in the house. Good to see you. Fairy Dance and others. Yeah, it was a tough week, right? It's a tough week. Silver lining is these people are exposing themselves. Now everybody can see it. And now, you know, all of these indictments for a long time have been very difficult to understand, I think, for a lot of people. Everybody can say Trump got indicted, Trump got arrested, 91 felonies, blah, blah, blah. But the mugshot crystallizes it. It's like the keystone that just makes it all come together. It's now material. You can see it, you can share it, you can retweet it. It's one image. They can post it on a front page. Everybody can see what these monsters are doing. They done goofed big time. Trust 2 Kids, good to see you. Music Micro Gaming Mix with another one. Music Micro, so generous, and I appreciate your donos here today. We've got Rocky Waters says, Rob, hate to sound like a broken record, but great show. Keep rocking. Thanks for what you do. Peace, all. Thanks, Rocky. I appreciate you, Rocky, man. No, I appreciate you, man. It's support. It's your support, brother, and I appreciate you being here. I really do. I thank you for joining up. Thanks for always being, so positive and so fun. I appreciate it. We got Adesia says, Rob, thanks for the sanity. Right back at you, Adesia. I would not, if this was just me on my Twitter account, locked in a basement somewhere, I'd be going bananas. The fact that we get to go through this together is how we're going to do it. So thank you, Adesia. We got Jack Mack in the house. Thank you, Jack. Jack Mack 13. Good to see you. Says, if Congress brings in a big Fani for questioning, do they have any power or recourse, or will it just be another question and answer session in which she doesn't give any answers and nothing's done afterwards? Yeah, that's a good question. So, she's, of course, a state individual, and Congress could theoretically make her life difficult. They could subpoena her. I think, theoretically, if she didn't give them, let's just game this out, legally. They've already sent Fani a letter, and we covered that, I think, earlier this week. And let me see if I can just pull it up. Yeah, oversight to Fani. Here it is. This is the letter that Congress sent to Fani. So let's just like take this to the next level. So Fani gets a letter. Dear Miss Willis, give us all this stuff. We want to know a bunch of questions from you, Fani. How much money did you get? Did you talk to Jack Smith? Did you use federal money? Right. So they're trying to find ways that they can get jurisdiction over Fani. They don't really know that they have it yet. They're exploring. Did you use federal funds? Did you talk to Jack Smith? He's federal. That's in our jurisdiction. Did you have any communications between your office, Big Fani, and executive branch officials? If they are able to find stuff in that area, I think that, yeah, they might have some arguments that they can like subpoena a document, right? So legally, oh, you did talk to Jack Smith? Great. We're going to need to see those documents. Big Fani's not going to turn over the documents. Then they issue a subpoena. Then she doesn't comply with the subpoena. Then they issue contempt of Congress. And then at that point, they could do whatever they want. You know, then they could say she's in contempt. And I think there's internal rules about what to do with that. But that's about it. I mean, unless they, defund her office specifically, but I think you need a bigger margin of people to do anything more meaningful. So the bigger, I think, recourse, Jack Mack, is going to be through state level Republicans, like the state senators, the state level Congress would be the right people to do something about probably funding her specific office, or as we saw from Colton Moore, opening up a special session. I think they would have more recourse than the federal Congress. They're fishing for something to do. So up until they get something that they can latch onto, I think it's probably just a Q&A type of ordeal. Just Q&A. So great question. We'll see. We'll see if they find anything. A Bad Poet says, so SCOTUS is in trouble for accepting staying in-house. SCOTUS is under a lot of scrutiny right now. I don't know exactly what you're referencing, but for, going on trips and stuff, ethical problems, always the deal. We've got Randy Brandel over on Locals. Thank you, Randy, and welcome aboard. New name I see. Says Ukraine prosecutor was looking for $7 billion missing from Burisma owners and their bank. Oligarchs' finances were frozen, all property seized, and arrest warrants were issued. Biden and Kerry were running weapons through Burisma to the Russian resistance after Crimea. That's why Biden fired him. Great show as usual, Rob. Thanks. Wow, that's a great comment there. And that is some interesting backstory. Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to it, right? Burisma was obviously a huge company with all of the oligarchs. So their massive corruption was well underway. Burisma was there. Hunter was there to bring in foreign leverage. Yeah, it's just so gross. I'm sure it goes so deep. I can't wait to figure it all out. Thanks, Randy. We've got this one from 4-6 says, Trump in 2016, he said, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in their way. Trump in 2023, they're not coming after me. I'm coming after them. We have a new energy, no doubt about it. And I hope that's true. I hope when he does win that he cleans house, and there should be repercussions going both ways. Thanks, 4-6. We've got NY Renal MD says Big Fani's outside of her jurisdiction. These charges are for the Georgia AG to charge, not a local prosecutor. She is outside of her jurisdiction to charge Trump. We've got this one from Salty over on Rumble. Says, don't get me wrong, Rob. Ted is okay. He's just from Alpha Centauri, which is a space alien, right? I mean, that's like, I think that's one of the closest stars, which makes sense. That's why he's here. Is that why his suit looked like that too? Maybe he'll explain it on his podcast. Have you subscribed to it? Somebody, please. Can somebody subscribe to Ted's podcast, for crying out loud? All right, John Allen's here. Hey, Rob, another great show. Sorry I'm so quiet tonight. Probably better for y'all. Been in the background working and lurking. On another side note, the mod chat's on fire lately. So busy, takes me a while. Go mods, says John. Thanks, John. We got Miss Winnie, says John Bolton told CNN's Collins that Trump looked like a thug. Actually, I didn't watch that clip, but I saw it pass my Twitter feed. Exactly what Chris Rock predicted when he compared an arrested Trump to Tupac. Exactly what Chris Rock predicted when he compared an arrested Trump to Tupac. Yeah, I wonder if that's going to have consequences. Like, will a mugshot cross cultural barriers in a way that other stories wouldn't? I think so. I definitely think so. All right, and that was from Miss Winnie. Great comment, Miss Winnie. 66 Anton says, I was busy yesterday and forgot to wish everyone a happy Thirsty Thursday. 66 Anton, been a member on Locals for over a year. Amazing. Better late than never. Thirsty Thursday, Thirsty Friday, both are good. And Fridays even, because tomorrow's Saturday, so you can be extra thirsty on the Fridays. So very awesome. Thank you, everybody, for those very lovely, very generous donos and super chats to all of our friends, from all of our friends, Locals, Rumble, YouTube. Love you guys. Thank you for that. Let's say hello to our friends on X now, as we are wrapping up before we go over to our members only after party at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Who do we have on the X? Wow. 3 people. That's almost 4. Let's see who's here. We've got Danny McWilliams. We've got Vientikis with a comment. Fred Pedamonte says, here's Johnny's opinion of the show. Oh, he's wonked out. A little sleepy. Show put him to sleep today, huh? It's probably all those Biden clips. James Pepper says your volume drops when you play clips. So those clips, yeah, my audio is not normalized for all of the clips that I play. So the clips come with their own audio. I get them, I download them, and I don't have time to normalize all the audios for all the clips. It's just one man here. I don't have a whole team of people normalizing clips and stuff. So we take them as they come. I have a knob here that I try to normalize the audio for us. Like if it's low, I try to raise it up. If it's high, I try to bring it down. So that explains some of the audio stuff. When there's a bunch of clips, it's hard for me to do that. I'm like a DJ, DJing the audio up and down. So it doesn't get normalized for us. So that's if there's audio wonkiness, that's the reason why. But thanks for allowing me to explain that. Hey, this one came in from the Wrath of the Weaver. Says straight out of corrupt Fulton. Straight out of corrupt Fulton. West Side, right. We've got Liberty says we all need to Photoshop our mugshots and then post them on the CNN page. Donna Bradley says let's not give Vivek any credibility. I like Vivek. I think a new player to the game is interesting. I'm curious about the guy. See where it goes. Danny McWilliams says George Washington had a mugshot and was wanted for treason. Trump is in the same boat, but treason to the Democrats. That's all from our friends over on the X. Shout out to our friends on X. That, my friends, though, is it for us. We are going to leave it there. Members, we're heading over for our after party. YouTube members, join us on Telegram. Grab the Telegram link from the community tab on the channel homepage on YouTube. Otherwise, my friends, we'll see you over there, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have our movie night coming up. So this weekend, my friends, this is the weekend. If you have not seen V for Vendetta, you're going to want to squeeze it in because next weekend, we're going to have our movie night. 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, September 2nd. V for Vendetta discussion. Watch the movie on your own time. We'll watch some clips and we'll dissect it because it's very applicable, apropos, as Biden said, to today. Also, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, new website, Robert Govea, fieldofgreens.com to get your green superfood. Save 15% off with code Robert when you head on over there. Thank you to the mods and the meme smiths. And we do have the best mods and the best meme smiths, including John McGarvey. Thank you, John. Clipping hard for us today. Donut Mind Me, Dog Digger in the house, Janek 909, John Allen's in the house, Zach Nichols, Beyond Geostars, Zulu's here, Ronnie Cole, Playin' Hooky, Just Cause, K Bean, and our friend Vientikis Prime helping us out throughout the week, keeping the train on the tracks, keeping things nice and orderly and beautiful. Thank you to Geegum Geegum, Nathan, NA10, and our friend Palmino, Sleepy Dog Lee, over in the house. And so that, my friends, is it for us on this day. We have had a busy week here. We've had 4 indictments, 4.5 months, multiple arrests. We've got a new mugshot, and we're still going to win. It's just the road that we're on. I'm grateful that we're going through it together. I appreciate you being here as we went through it this week. There's going to be a lot more to go, and we're just getting started. So this weekend, I do hope that you're able to unplug a little bit, recover from some of the stressors, some of the drama that went out there this week. Get outside, get some sunshine, some vitamin D, spend that time with friends and family, meditating, praying, whatever it is you do to recharge your batteries, my friends, because we're getting started and there's going to be a lot more to get to. Business to attend to back here on Monday, and we need to see you here, recharged and ready to go, so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. An amazing weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.